being the fastest quarterback you've never seen. I'll be right back. There's no quicker way to get into DFS. Play Super Draft today and see for yourself.
We're behind. They're all fired up. What we got to do? First place, our defense has got to go out there and take the ball. And when we get the ball, we got to have 11 people that's going to do their job and try to score every time you get the football. If we do that, we'll be all right. That will be all right.
You are satisfied? If you are not hungry, you need to check yourself.
Hey, what papers you gotta go get it and go out.
Right now is your chance. Right now is your opportunity. Right now, you gotta make today count.
What we do is important, but how we do what we do becomes more and more important. And that's for every guy here. We gotta do it better. Our goal is to have the kind of team that nobody wants to play. And that means that we have to impose our will to dominate the competition all the time. It's all about what does it take to break you.
Roll Tide, Nick.
Roll Tide.
Man, what kind of propaganda was that?
Welcome to Bama Nation.
We here, baby. We here.
Hey, everybody, man. Welcome to the Nick and Rise Up College Sports Talk. And we have a special guest with us today. And I'm going to let Mr. Nick Saban Jr. Introduce this young gentleman, man.
Yes, I have my buddy, my guy, my friend, Mr. Don Fox, LSU man himself. And he knows LSU football. I had him on before doing the SEC championship game. So he really knows LSU football. He's gonna talk. You know, he's going to talk with reasonable. He's going to be sensible. And if you come at him, I'm going to come back at you. So, you know, hey, we're here to talk football. We're here to talk football. How you doing today?
Yeah, I'm doing pretty good, man. Just kind of getting ready for the season, you know, in between, got that summertime, and,
Right.
you know, all the fans are more eager to go.
Right.
Yeah, I've been going crazy. After the spring games, I'll be like, now what?
Right.
Now what do I do now?
You
I
know,
try to watch the
Denver-
XFL and all that, but I'm like, yeah, y'all are in the XFL and USFL for a reason. But I wish them well.
Right. Well, we welcome you to the show, man. Glad you came aboard and come talk some good LSU football with us tonight. And got a fun fact. Got a fun LSU fact, you guys. LSU and Alabama first played their first football game back in 1895 with LSU beating Alabama 12-6. So the first meeting, I guess the first official meeting of LSU versus Alabama Crystal Tide, LSU came away with the win. So, you know, good stuff, which leads up to this good rivalry we have in the West now. So, good stuff.
Yep.
We've got a lot of things have changed since that 1895.
Yeah.
You know, that's why they play the game, right?
Yeah.
Exactly. Okay. So, Nick, I'll let you take over, man.
Okay, the first thing I want to talk about, the comments that Brian Kelly just made. What were your thoughts on what did you feel about Brian Kelly's thoughts about Coach Saban at Alabama?
Well, I think you got to figure out where it came from and who he was talking to. Sometimes you gotta hype the boosters up. You gotta hype the people up that want to hear certain things.
Right.
And then, what could 20 years ago coaches say things never got out. Now everything is on a social media. So,
Right.
it goes that way. But I don't think him saying something has to fire up the Alabama players for that game. I mean, that's if you gotta get fired up by what somebody says, well, you're probably not ready to play.
Yeah.
I agree 100%. Okay. So what do you expect from your LSU Tigers this season? I mean, what are your expectations or, coming into the season?
So, everything is there for them to have a good season, but sometimes when your expectations exceeded what you had last year, are the players buying into what they're being told versus, hey, if you still happy because you beat Alabama, or are you pissed off because you lost to Georgia the way you lost to Georgia? That's kind of becomes back as, people are not going to roll over. You surprised people last year with a new coach, a new staff, 35 scholarship players, everybody stepping up, and now nobody's gonna like take you lightly because of what your past is, and your past is your past. What you do each week is going to determine your outcome.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, I'm gonna ask you about what was your thoughts and your feelings about the spring game.
So the spring game, it kind of, I'm not surprised by the outcome. And I know they took a hit on like, oh, there was no defense in that game because of all the scoring. The defense has kind of gone away. I mean, even Alabama is, can give up 30 and still win games. So it's more of an offensive game now. There's, everybody's spread, everybody's doing different type of offense. You got a running back, a quarterback that can take the ball and run with it, or he can, do the play action run option. It's kind of what they've gone to. So I think offensively it looked pretty good. I actually feel good about their offense now because last year I was disappointed with Kayshon Boutte. I thought he was just out there on the field, almost trying not to get hurt.
Yeah.
And I think he hampered the other guys because the defenses were taking him lightly and they could focus on other things. And I think the other guys are a little hungry from last year's success that they want to be, mentioned in that potential first or second round, continue the wide receiver university, they call it, that goes there. Mm-hmm. So I feel good about the offense. And, they brought up the thing about the, Brian Kelly said, well, we got two quarterbacks. I think in college it's okay to have that, because you're a running quarterback, you're a sprained ankle away from being the next guy up. You're, you got to be there, and him to come and say that he's staying, I think that says a lot for Nussmeier, that he is like, he's accepted his role, but that doesn't mean he still can't compete, week in and week out. A couple years ago, Tua came off the bench as a freshman and replaced Hurts, and look how that worked out for each of them.
Right. Okay. You said something with about Boutte and saving itself for the NFL. As of the last couple of years, we've been seeing a lot of players opt out of bowl games and different things of that nature, and or people not taking their senior or their junior year, whatever they are, when they're eligible to go into the draft. It's serious. We see them kind of, it looks like to me in my mind, they kind of take a step back, but really they're, campaigning for the NFL. They don't want to get hurt. They don't want to risk injury. I mean, I think this is becoming an epidemic. What do you think about that? I mean, just across the board, because we're seeing it a lot more here lately.
Oh, I agree with that. I think one thing that might change that is the fact that they have the NIL now, and the players can they're getting paid while they're there.
Right.
So it's more likely, the guys that have that endorsement, that sign that endorsement for that name, image, likeness, they might have that in there that says, hey, you can't miss the bowl or you lose out on this amount of potential money. I think it also keeps guys getting paid, they come back instead of opting for the NFL and banking on hopefully they get drafted.
Right.
Then they come back and stay. And don't get me wrong, you got your outliers. You got some above. Bryce Young he did not need to come back and play another year at
Right.
but I think it keeps the average player or the one more year because they get up their stock and they're still getting paid while they're coming back. They're not so much risking injury and losing what they would have in the past.
And see what you bringing that up. I was thinking about Eli Rick, someone that you're familiar with because he came from LSU, and I was wondering why did he enter the draft after the season he had last season? Not a bad season, but he didn't have much game tape. Basically, he had the freshman year. I think he was hurt a lot his sophomore year at LSU. But I'm wondering, like, with NIL, what is the rush to get to the NFL with NIL plays? And I'm pretty sure he was a kid that was probably getting NIL money or could have made back off of NIL money this season. So I was wondering, like, before this, would kids stay? Would they stay longer, or would they still be impatient to go to the NFL? And we seen that he was one of the guys that he went to the NFL when he could have came back and increased his draft stock tremendously. If he would have stayed healthy this full season, he probably easily could have been a first rounder.
Yeah, I think there's a couple things that go in that. Obviously, you have, family plays a part that you're trying to take care of.
Right.
Also, I think another thing is, and I can't speak for him individually, but I think some of them, it comes down to, academically, how well they do in the classroom. That keeps them on the field to play. Emery, running back at LSU. I mean, he was one of the top guys coming out, 5-star, can't miss guy, and his first couple of years he was on some very bad LSU teams, and he couldn't even get on the field. So, and then he had to sit out almost the whole season to get back in academic standards to get back in. So that could play a part too.
Yeah. Gotcha.
But Bricks, I mean, he came hyped up at LSU, and then if you watch the game tape, he just a lot of those he got beat pretty bad on some of those, and then even coming over, the grass was greener. Let me go to Alabama. He really didn't step up there. In comparison to what his potential was. Or is.
Okay. I agree 100%.
So, coming to the season, Jaden Daniels is the starting quarterback. Were you surprised there wasn't much of a quarterback battle? Because I remember the SEC championship when Nesmire got in the game, the offense looked very different when he got in the game against Georgia.
It's also, it did. But at the same time, when you're down 3 or 4 scores, the defense is not as pressured on that. They're, you know what I mean? They're at that point, they think the game is pretty much wrapped up. We're out there. There was probably some second team guys from Georgia on the field during that time. Don't get me wrong. He taking nothing from him. He did well, but at that point, the game was pretty much in hand for Georgia.
Okay. So, who steps up in the replacement of Kayshon Boutte?
So, they've got several of them. Off the top of my head right now, I'm kind of blank on the one where he just had the big touchdown in the spring game. I'm drawing a blank on his number 8. So we got Neighbors is going to be Neighbors is really a solid thing. The tight end is only going to be better, and he's in the running game, and also what he gets against Bama, he can step up and make some good catches too. So I'm not on that, but I'll tell you this: when Jamar Chase was there after Jefferson left, nobody had heard of Kayshon Boutte, and he came out of kind of anywhere, and all of a sudden had a 300-yard game, several touchdowns, and it's like, oh, who's this guy?
Yeah.
So sometimes it's this opportunity. We really don't even know who the guy is going to be yet. But, good part is at least now LSU has been having quarterbacks that can actually get the receivers the ball.
Mm.
Okay. So I want to go to the defensive side of the ball. Number 40, Mason Smith. That dude there, he had the Will Anderson type potential. What are you expecting out of him his second year? I think it's his second year, right?
Oh, Harold Perkins. Yeah, he's
Harold
going to
Perkins.
be.
Yeah, that's what
So
I meant. Harold
one thing I'm interested to see is they moved him inside in the spring. I don't know. I think he's more of an edge rusher, disruptor guy. I don't know if I think he's the kind of guy that you don't really put him in a position. You kind of let him get the feel of the game and kind of move him to where, wide side of the field or wherever the weakness is. I think he can step up and disrupt the game by himself.
Yeah.
And because of that, he makes the secondary look better too, because quarterbacks don't have time to throw the ball.
Yeah.
But hopefully, if he comes back and has half the season that he had last year, that dude had a it's hard to top that kind of. I mean, to be thinking, every year I got to get better. Well, you can sometimes only get, because now, don't think game plans are going to be designed around where number 40 is.
Right. You're right. They're going to. Okay.
And I'll tell you this: a perfect example is last year for Alabama. Anderson, right?
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, his first couple of years, he disrupted everything. His last year, it wasn't numbers wise. He didn't have the same stats because, I mean, everybody knows who he is now, and they're working around him. And it's time for other people got to step up and take advantage of that.
Right.
Yeah. That's exactly correct.
Okay. So we're 2024, if I'm not mistaken. We're supposed to go into the 3-6-6 model of games. Oklahoma and Texas will be in the SEC officially, and they're going to get rid of the East and the West in the SEC, and we'll do the 3-6-6. Now, us and Bama and LSU will be every year game. We're in the 3, so we won't lose that game. How do you feel about that though? Because you guys may potentially lose Texas A&M, maybe.
Yeah, so like even Texas A&M before they were in the SEC, that was still a game that was always on. LSU, Texas, they played every year. I don't really know how that's going to work out now. I mean, it's kind of interesting. Some are going to have it. Some are going to say, "Oh, we got it easier," because if you get Missouri in your little bracket, or you get Vandy in your bracket, you get you got okay. Well, there's a win. But at the end of the day, I think you still would have to play the team that you still got to beat them, all the good teams, to get to that next round of that SEC championship game, or if they expand the playoffs to 12. I that's a different topic. I'm not really a fan of that, but
Okay. Now, since you brought it up, okay, this past season that we just had, if this past season we were in the 12-team playoff, LSU would have been in the playoff.
Yeah, they would have been, but I think of it like this: if you go back to what they have now, the 1 verse 4 and 2 verse 3. Before this year, the 1 and 4 it's been a blowout.
Right.
Yeah.
2 and 3 is a better game, and then the championship game it lines up. This year, the way it played out, because it was Michigan, Ohio State, they made sure that they weren't going to play each other in a semifinal. If you guys are going to meet, it's going to be the championship. And it kind of played out where, probably TCU was a 4 seed,
Right.
compared to the other 3. And the blowout that you got that Georgia did, that should have been the semifinal game. And I think you would have seen a better game in the final, whoever's standing there and playing. But I really think TCU, they had a great season, but talent for talent, depth for depth, they were really a 4 seed. Not even looking at the record, they were, and it showed.
Yes.
Because, like I said, had we been in the 12-team playoff this year, you would have had at least 4 SEC teams in the playoff. You would have had Georgia, LSU, Tennessee, and Alabama. Those 4 teams I know would have been in the playoff.
Right, but whereas Tennessee was at the end of the year, injury-wise, I mean, how do we could say, hey, you're in the playoff, but really, how competitive would that be?
True.
There's a different side to each piece of that. It's if you go to 6, if you have 12, 13, and 14 are going to complain they should be in it. If you got 6, 7, and 8 wants to be in it too. So it's like, like the basketball now. I mean, they went to 64, and it's like, man, that's not enough. Somebody still thinks they got, gyps getting into the thing. So they say, oh, we'll do a play-in. 68 teams get potentially get into it. But at the end of the day, it's the top-seeded teams, are the competitive ones.
Right. To me,
So,
it's just longer than inevitable.
It's basically, it might keep, it might be the thing where they're trying to keep players to play in the bowl games, make it more competitive. Because at the end of the day, it comes down to sponsorship. It comes down to money. So the more games you have that you call a playoff versus, the Outback Bowl or the Citrus Bowl, that all generates more money.
Right.
And that's what drove the expansion of that. I don't think they paid attention to teams' feelings are not getting into the thing. They looked at how much money they could potentially make out of it, and that was the reason behind it.
Okay. What you got, Nick?
But I also would be curious to see if a 10, somebody that was the 10th get in and get to the hey, you know what? Good on them. But I just don't know if I mean, you're really going to put in Cincinnati. That the teams like that are going to be Cincinnati, because even those committees, they're still going to look at things. And that team that we just named 4 that should be in there, right? They're going to find a reason why, Cincinnati should be in there, or, UCF or one of those. And they can't play with that.
Right.
So, but their mind, what they see, you can't change.
Right. Mm-hmm. Go ahead, Nick.
So, I'm gonna ask you this. Were you surprised overall with LSU last season? Were you surprised, or was it kind of your expectations? Oh,
no, I was absolutely surprised by that. I mean, and I think anybody that tells you that they expected 10 wins, that's foolish. They probably don't know much about football. I think it was a year that most fans that watched the game understand it probably was hoping for a 6-6. And after they lost to Florida State and the blowout to Tennessee, I got to look at their schedule and be like, oh, I hope we can win 4, based off their performance. Yeah. So I really was, surprised, and just amazing how one half of the Ole Miss game, they looked like the team that played Tennessee, and then came back in the second half, and it was like a completely different team, till the end of the season.
Right. Okay.
That's true. That's true. Okay. So what we usually try to do, we try to do a schedule preview. Try to go schedule and see who you think win or lose, who they will win or lose to, or whatever. So the first game of the season, I think again, right? Yeah, Florida State.
They're playing in Orlando. Yeah, LSU is the away team, but they're playing in Orlando.
Yeah, they did a New Orleans, and then this year is in Orlando. I think we got a better kicker. I think we'll win that one.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Week 2, Grambling. We're gonna be. So week 3, Mississippi State.
You guys are away at Mississippi State too.
Yeah, I think I'm going to go with a win against Mississippi State for the fact that, they've got some turnover under some sad situation. And I think that I think the better team will come out on top on that one. I think LSU will find a way to win that.
Okay.
Gotcha. So after Mississippi, y'all got Arkansas. I think it's at home too. At home. How do you think that game goes? Arkansas, they got KJ Jefferson returning. I think they have their runner returning as well. But how do y'all think you fare against them?
So again, with that one, sometimes Arkansas they haven't learned how to win games on the road. It'll be a close game depending on the time of day they play. They give them one of those 11 a.m. Central or 12 Central Time, 11 a.m. Hey, it's going to come down to the last team with the ball. I think if they show a game at 7:30 at night in Baton Rouge, I think LSU comes away with the victory.
I can agree with that.
Okay.
Again, it's time of day they play.
Yeah, and you know what? That's true. Because even Alabama against Texas last season, I really feel like that time of day had something to do with it. We're really not a 12 o'clock team in Texas in the heat of the day at Texas, and Texas that stadium be rocking. So I agree. The time of the day matters. The time of the day matters.
Oh yeah, if that's a 3:30 CBS game or a night game, you're right. I think Texas plays them good for a first half, and then they come by a 2-score difference. They win that game.
Okay.
But Ole Miss, that's going to be again. It's Ole Miss. They can come out and play with you, and they. Even against Bama, they've come out and they've gone back and forth. And I've sit and watched the game and be like, they'll be in the game until they make a mistake, and then it's over. So, not making a mistake, I don't count Kiffin out. I think he's learned a lot over his time, and I'm gonna go ahead still. I think LSU, if they come out hungry like they was last year, in the second half of the season. I think they can be undefeated through Ole Miss.
Hey, Rosa, you continue. I'm trying to pull it back up on my phone, man.
Okay, I got you. So we got Ole Miss, which is away. Then October 7th, the next week, you guys are still on the road, but you're going to play the Missouri Tigers, and we kind of know what that's going to end up being. In my book, it's a win for LSU.
I agree. This is not a 2020 team. The 2020 season team when you go to Vandy and it's just awful. I think they get a win in Missouri.
Okay. Then I guess on the 14th, the following week, you guys back at home again, but you have the Auburn Tigers coming into town. It's to be announced the time. If it's a night game, I already know what's going to happen, but I don't know if it's a day game, 3:30 game or whatever, but Auburn's in town. How do you feel about that game?
Well, it's been since, I think, if I'm not mistaken, I think it's been almost 20 years that they won it on the road in Baton Rouge. So I'm going to take LSU on that one. Thank Tommy Tuberville for that, lighting up the cigar at the 50-yard line. People, they don't forget. They don't forget.
That's crazy.
Okay. And you guys get to stay at home the following week on the 21st, and you play Army. And we pretty much know what the outcome of that game will be.
I think Army might have to say what that is, the triple option or something they run. They might have something to say, man.
They do. They will keep those teams in the game. That's true. But I think at that point we can, again, you get to that point. You got the bye, and then you got the big game, and it's like you can't be, thinking ahead too far, or you'll be hoping you get in field goal range to get out of there with a win.
I think they're gonna. Army ain't got.
Yeah, I think so too. Army gonna be ready. They're gonna be ready to list early after that game, man.
No, but you know what? Troy University didn't have it either, and they came through with a homecoming. And
Yeah.
You know, they took the $1.5 million we paid them, and they won the game on homecoming. So you know,
I forgot about that.
That's
I
facts.
forgot about that game. That is true. Okay.
That's facts.
Well, like you said, the next week you guys do have the bye, and then on the 4th, you guys roll into Tuscaloosa, Alabama, to take on my Alabama Crimson Tide. So we in Tuscaloosa, and hey man, listen, you guys beat us. I tell everybody, all the Alabama fans, you guys beat us fair and square, man. I mean, you played a hell of a game. I know I'm gonna speak for me. I'm not gonna speak for the rest of the Alabama nation. I'm speaking for me. I thought we had the game in the bag last year. I thought we were gonna go in and with the new quarterback. I was a fan of the guy when he was at Arizona State, but I'm like, he coming in the SEC. They have a new coach coming from Notre Dame. It's the SEC. It's a little different, and the LSU proved me wrong, and they won. So, how do you feel about coming into Tuscaloosa this year?
So again, that's a game. Trying to win 2 in a row is tough. If they were at neutral sites, it would be tough. And I know Saban knows more than what he's got than what he leads on to get as far as a quarterback. I can tell you that guy is, he what they call the media, the rat poison.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, he's getting those players, that you guys particularly haven't done anything yet. So he's gonna have those guys the whole season. There'll be that one on the calendar. He's gonna remind them you haven't accomplished anything. All the other guys that were here before, they did that, not you. And so I think that's gonna be a tough one to pull out. And it might be closer than some of the other games in Tuscaloosa in the past, but I think Alabama probably will find a way to win that one. Again, I think you got 2 undefeated teams going in to play each other in that game, like it's been in the past. I think the difference for LSU is those other times they came in with a defense and a running game, and if you stop the running game, there was no pass game. That cost Leonard Fournette the Heisman that year, is because they couldn't do anything but hand him the ball, and Alabama knew that. They put 9-10 guys in the box and dared the guy to throw the ball, and he couldn't do it. And it wasn't because they didn't have receivers, because they all went in the first round.
Right.
But you just didn't have a quarterback that could throw. So I think that keeps it close. I think it still will be a high scoring game, because I think that's just the way college football is now. I think, even the Georgia era, the past 2 years, I think eventually, pretty much all those guys in the past 2 years, they've all been drafted. So it's a matter of, finding another 11 that can do that. If Kirby can do that, hey, hats off to him.
Okay. Then 11, you guys are at home, and you have Billy Napier and the Florida Gators rolling into town.
I think that's the one. That's the one that's always the game after the Alabama game is always a trap game for them, because if they win, they still are upbeat and they're not ready to play the next game, which Arkansas last year. They got out there with a 2-point win on that. And Arkansas was on the decline. They were good in September,
right?
They were, November they were done, and they still made it a game. Take away Harold Perkins, one guy made the difference of that game. So that's a trap game, and I think they will win that game, because I think they will be quick enough to refocus after the Alabama game. Now, if they were to upset Alabama in that game in Tuscaloosa, Napier might have a good chance to get out of there in Baton Rouge with a win. But being at home, I'm gonna say LSU's gonna win that game at home.
Okay.
Yeah, I think so.
Well, the following game the week after that, you guys are home again and you're playing Georgia State. So yeah. Yeah, you know. Yeah. Hey, but Georgia State did beat Tennessee one, you know what I'm saying?
They did. Georgia Southern beat Florida one year.
Yeah. So hey,
and those games like that, people are like, oh, they play the soft team. It's like you're really helping a program out by giving them money to come play the game, and that's what builds their facilities. Yeah. That's what makes it a safer place for those guys to play football too.
Right. And then, last but not least, you guys are home to your rivals, the Texas A&M Aggies. What do you think about that game?
So this is a win for LSU. This one is this one is a win. You can mark it down. It's a victory for them. That last year was playing a bad A&M team. Again, I still think LSU was surprised that they beat Alabama those last couple of games after that season, and then once they had it wrapped up that they won the West. I don't think they were. I really just don't think it was a focused team. I think they. And again, with all these being said, it really comes down to the time of day that the games are played will make a difference for LSU. I mean, if you make those guys play Auburn at 12 o'clock noon, you're going to be in for a game till the last minute. Play them at night. Is you got a chance to, but Auburn always plays LSU good. I mean, it really, even their national championship year in 2019, that was probably the entire game was the full 4-quarter game that LSU was challenged. Even in that year, Alabama came back late in the game to make it close, but Auburn played them all 4 quarters, and it was a good game.
Mm-hmm. So even with Texas A&M having Mr. Petrino now, they have a new coordinator on the offense.
You still got to have a quarterback.
Hey, see what you just said there. I said, for one, we don't even know if Jimbo Fisher going to officially let Petrino run the offense. He hired him. He should. But the thing about Petrino offenses, Petrino always had this special type of quarterback, and Texas A&M doesn't have that special type of quarterback, regardless. So I agree with you.
Jimbo Fisher had Jameis Winston, and then when he didn't have Jameis Winston, he crashed the program at Florida State.
Yep.
And him, being an offensive coordinator there for Saban at LSU, when he had a guy that could just manage the game and Saban's defense could do it was a difference. What's his name is going on is that 1 year of a national championship, and everybody's just thinking he's all that, and there's more to it. I mean, Gene Chiswick's got a championship, and
right?
He's an analyst on Saturday.
Right. You're right. You are right.
That's fact.
I kind of wanted to revisit what we were talking about earlier, going away from the East and West and the SEC, and playing teams every other year that you normally wouldn't play. So we're going to see teams maybe in the East that you guys wouldn't see. Like we don't play Georgia. Alabama don't play Georgia on a regular basis every 4 or 5 years or whatever it may be. But now we will get to see them every other year. Are there any teams in the East that you would like, or any other teams, that you don't see on a regular basis that you wouldn't mind playing?
I think a Tennessee game is a good test of your team to still play a good SEC opponent, year in and year out at each of the home games. South Carolina is doing some good things. That they, I think they're on the right path to compete. Right now, there's Georgia and then the rest. But I think, after Georgia, the 2, 3, 4, 5, I mean, they're kind of playing for number 2 and number 3 in there. But I would say probably if not Georgia, it would probably be a Tennessee would be the other team from the East to play.
Okay. with that also being said, do you think it's what's the word I'm want to use? Is it going to be fair to some team? Because I'm a bit. I tell everybody this. To me, in my opinion, and just my opinion, Auburn probably have the hardest road, man. Auburn, they have a hard road because they're playing Georgia every year. They're playing LSU every year. They're playing Alabama every year. You know, they're playing the hard team, so they don't have an easy road to get to a SEC championship and or a national championship. So Auburn, I say that, and I'm not an Auburn fan, but I have to give give those guys kudos because they play that schedule every year.
Yeah, and I think that goes in cycles. I mean, there was a time when LSU was playing Alabama every year, and they were playing Florida. Florida was at the top of their game every year, and Auburn, who has had good teams. So I think it goes in cycles of that. You know, I guess you'd say Georgia's probably gets the lighter of that because they play Auburn in the West every year, but other than that, who are they playing in the SEC? I mean, it rotates around, and sometimes you get something, but past 10 years or so, how Tennessee really hasn't been that. It's always come down to beat Florida and you get it, you clinched it.
Right.
I think probably Vandy or Missouri probably have it just as bad because every game they play is an underdog,
right?
And they just they split the purse at the bowl game time, and they're okay with that.
Yeah, that's the name. Vandy's not looking to really win anything.
Yeah, when you split it 12 or 14 ways, hey, it comes out the same. If we're there, we're not there. But it does. It's going to change. I mean, it right now, if you had to play Georgia and play Alabama, it's a tough schedule, right? It's a tough schedule. But 5 years from now, if Florida was to come back, and then you got, oh man, we got to play Florida and Alabama, or Alabama got to play LSU and Tennessee, and the way Tennessee's playing. So it goes in cycles with that, and I understand Auburn's point right now at the current time. But, they've got a new coach. They've got, kind of what got him in trouble with all the players is kind of don't have that problem anymore because he gets the NIL, kind of everything. He can for sure recruit.
Right.
And so, he's maybe not this year, but if and that's the other thing. Auburn don't really give their coaches time. They want it now.
Right.
So
exactly.
If they give them a couple years, I think you can see some success. Again, if you can beat Bama a couple times, that buys you a little bit of time. But they're very quick to find the newer thing, shiny object.
And the boosters, man. Oh my God, those guys just interfere so much.
Mainly the one booster guy, the old yellow. I mean, but you think about it like that. I knew somebody told me when Harskin was hired, and they told me they said this guy is a good X's and O's guy, but he will not be successful because he doesn't deal with boosters and he doesn't deal with outside the line stuff. And it was like that's exactly kind of what happened.
Right.
He could, it's exactly how it went down. He's a coach. He doesn't. I don't want to go have these meetings with these boosters to get stuff. I want to coach.
Yeah.
And that was, he was standoffish. They said, oh, we got to get. This guy's not our guy. Well, he really wasn't your guy. You bought a guy out who probably still should have a job there. And then it was like you got rid of that guy. So think about this. People don't realize it's like, oh, we need to get a new coach. And it's like, if you got a coach that you're paying a lot of money to and you want to run him off, who wants to be that next guy?
Exactly.
What big name guy do you think you're going to go get?
Exactly.
That says, oh man, they gave this guy won, 75% of his games and you fired him. Yeah, that's the job I want.
Right.
That's fact.
Texas is a perfect example of that right there.
Yeah, Texas is.
Mm-hmm.
You know, everybody wanted Mac Brown gone, and then they wanted, after that it was, they didn't give Lovey a chance. You know, he wasn't from that side of Texas. And then they hired the shiny object out of Houston, and it's like, oh man, this is terrible. Get rid of him. It's like you haven't even like given a coach a chance.
Yep.
And I think they're going to give Sark a hard time because everybody's going to expect Manning to be playing.
Yep.
And that other guy is really good. That Ewers is a really good quarterback.
And I was saying too, even Malik Murphy, I'm like, to me, Malik Murphy looks better than Ewers. So I'm like, it might be I'm agreeing with you. It might be a problem in Texas if they don't get that Manning out there.
Yeah, and it's going to come down to what's being said outside off the football field.
Yep.
And then are they going to let Sark coach, or are they going to tell him how to coach?
Yep.
Because Arch is going to be there. Peyton. Everybody's going to have.
Everybody going to be there.
Everybody's going to be talking.
Woo, man, that's a hit they got on.
And that's why I didn't want Arch from the get go. Cause I be like, I don't want all this Manning hype down there. Everything's gonna be about Peyton and Eli and not the kid. Everything's gonna be Manning. Like, I didn't want that at Alabama.
I think at the end of the day, LSU felt that way too because Peyton shunned him, Eli shunned him, and I don't think the people at LSU are really Manning fans. From he was in New Orleans and they let both his sons go out of state to play.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, one went to Tennessee, one went one went to.
So, I mean, hey, it is, and they did well and they did good, but that don't mean people don't forget.
Right.
Yep, that's facts. That's facts.
You got anything else, Nick?
So I want to go back to some of these positions. Mason Smith, how much of an impact do you expect him to have this season?
Mason, you talking about Harold?
He a D lineman. Yeah, I think his name Mason Smith.
No, I think the defensive line is going to be okay. You get some of these other guys that step up to give. You can start with a rotation, so you don't want all four on the field all the time. If you can get a couple guys that rotate in, those guys step up. I'm just curious to how the scheme that they do. I mean, it's
because y'all did just get a new defensive line coach too, right?
Yeah, right. And so again, I think his part is going to be. I don't think it's challenging the four starters. I think it's challenging who are going to be the two that get into a rotation that can give those guys breathers. So at the fourth quarter, those guys are fresh. Kind of like I think Bama has something good about that going on, right? They got more than just four front linemen. They got some underclassmen that can step up and make some good plays too.
Yeah, that's been our big thing too. The last couple of seasons, we don't feel like we've been rotating heavy enough. So that's one of our big gripes this year as fans. The last couple of years, but running back position. Which veteran running back will you expect to improve the most this year?
So I think this is Emery's year. I think he's going to get. He got that extra year of eligibility. I think you're going to see a different, more hungry guy to come out in the beginning, and then you got a good back. And Kane, you got a good backup with Kane coming in, and that can hit holes and pound the ball, pound the interior part of it.
Yeah. So. Who do you think will be the most impactful transfer?
Yeah, I really. It's hard to take those transfers. It's like for every one that comes in that does well, there's 8 that you forgot they transferred in. But hopefully in the secondary that they will pick it up and become a dual, meaning they can tackle, come up in the box and tackle and do some coverage too.
And I was about to ask you about next the secondary, but yeah, because I feel like that was y'all wasn't so happy with as LSU fans know what y'all normally produce at the cornerback position. I feel like it could have improved.
But again, it goes back to that early release. The guys that want to leave early.
Yeah.
What's his name? Is the one that went to the Texans? His dad played. His own grandfather was the one that got paralyzed. He had.
He got burnt again. Devontae Smith burnt him.
Yeah.
But I mean, he had a good freshman year. Stingley. He had a good freshman year, and then the next year was the COVID. It was after everybody got drafted, and it was like he was going to be the guy can't miss draft pick. And again, they go out there and they don't put forth. They don't stay hungry, and and I think it was him and Ricks that were there that last year together, and it just was like they weren't playing to. They were on the field, but they weren't. And then Stingley said, I think I'll have some surgery. And then he started, everything was for a combine. Everything was for this. The good part about this year is they don't really have that guy to do that. They all have to play to get noticed. So that keeps them, maybe we can get back to that cycle of the DBU because there is nobody's anointed as a first round pick, so to speak. They got to go earn it.
Yeah.
But, and again, with those two guys there, you get rid of, what's his name with the Baylor's, the head coach from
Carolina.
The one that left the defensive coordinator from LSU, he went to Baylor. And then they brought in Knucklehead, what's his name? Pelini. Right?
Ball
so
Pelini,
you bring Pelini in with a whole new defensive scheme. And because of COVID, you didn't even get a spring practice. And you go in there and those guys are trying to learn something completely new. And that secondary, there was times that, even Vandy was throwing the ball and there wasn't a defender in the picture. You couldn't even see a guy and they're looking at each other like, who was that guy? I think another year with the same consecutive coordinator, I think they will step up and they'll be more comfortable in the system and trusting the system and trusting each other in that system. And that they haven't had that. They had Pelini, and then the next year they had the guy who came with Brian Kelly. But when you're constantly learning new stuff, I think another year with him, I think it'll help. And the good thing about LSU, those guys, last year, the draft this year, they had a couple of guys get drafted, wasn't very high, but at the same time, they really didn't have a whole lot of talent pool to pull for that upper class. And if you recall, that upper class was the one that was losing to Vandy in 2020, that lost to Missouri in 2020. That they were the ones that kind of were the decline of those couple of years. This younger guys have stepped up that Kelly brought in. And, he's getting 7 back on offense and I think 5 or 6 on defense. So that does help when you've got that. The past couple of years, they didn't even have that kind of numbers returning.
Yeah. So, Jaden Daniels. So, what is the ceiling for Jalen Daniels this season, you think?
What's that?
What is the ceiling for Jaden Daniels? How do you think? How far do you think he takes you?
Hey, I think he's got the potential to take him all the way. He's the right quarterback for that system. If he stays healthy, he can change a game with his arm. He can change a game with his legs. He can give defensive coordinators fits with that because he's not a run first guy. He doesn't have a problem with going to the second or third receiver before he's got he's not a happy feet guy back there. I think the difference between him and probably Hurts at this, Jalen at that, he's a lot lighter. So, it's that when you're the lighter body, you take the beating a little bit more. I think that's hopefully that doesn't hinder him. But I think he's got all the tools. I think he fits Brian Kelly's type of offense. And I just hope he has a healthy season.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. More questions rise up?
Yeah, I have. We talked about NIL and everything with potentially helping the kids stay instead of leaving it, go to draft so early. We mentioned this, but we haven't talked about it. Transfer portal. We have the transfer portal now. Back at one time, if you transferred and you in the FBS system, you had to sit out a year. Then they changed that rule. Now you can transfer today and be playing for another team tomorrow. And we seem to have kids even kids on national championship teams are transferring out.
Yeah. And so I think it goes back to people telling them things that isn't necessarily true. I think coaches will tell a guy pretty much anything to get them there. And when they get there, it's not. You got to remember when they go on that recruiting visit, it's that visit. Everything is about them.
Right.
When they come there in the fall, they're just another student. They're another player on the team. They haven't earned anything. And I think they're starting to get at younger ages, hell, 8th graders, they're doing 7-on-7. These guys have been hyped that they're can't miss dudes from, they've been catered to way earlier than they were, back. Now they come in and as soon as they get, challenged with something, they say, hey, I don't want to be here. That's one thing. The other part is sometimes it's just not a good fit, man. If you hey, everybody grows up and, hey, if I go to Alabama, chances are I got a good chance to play on Sunday. But I came from, a different part of Tuscaloosa, a whole different region. And you know what? This really isn't for me. Right. Coaches leave. I think it's good. I think it changes the game of how coaches recruit players. To make sure they're going to get a guy there instead of just looking at, the 247 or the ESPN top 300. I think it changes it. And again, I'm not an anti-portal guy. You know what? Sometimes, it just don't work out. I think, Jalen Hurts had to do what he had to do. I mean, and it worked out great, but he did it the right way. He stayed and he did it the right way. The one that was at Georgia that went to about 3 different colleges, it was like it almost like it came off like he wasn't like he was never happy. They never, didn't give him a chance. And it's like, dude, you got beat out by a dude that was a walk-on and then went to a JUCO and came back and still, trust me, Kirby Smart would have, if you could play, he would have played you. You know what I mean? He's as good as his teams are. He didn't pick and choose on who he liked and didn't like to play the game. I think the portals, I'm not against portal. I think it does serve a good purpose. Some people are going to take advantage of it and change every year. Some people will use it for the right thing. I mean, hell, if it wasn't there, we wouldn't have got Joe Burrow. You know what I mean?
Yeah, or Jaden Daniels.
That's fact.
It just sometimes, the guy was from Arizona. He didn't know about the SEC pair. It gets in the game and then you start following. It's like, oh man, that's where I need to be. That's where how many Pac-12 guys have been getting drafted. I need to be over here. And Joe Burrow was just at the point where, hey, he competed and he just wasn't good enough there, and he went down. And somebody changed the offense to fit what he could do, and look how that. I mean, had probably hands down the best quarterback, season of all time in college football.
No, I agree. Because it's people, at Bama that transfer. Some transferred prematurely, and it didn't work out for them. But some transferred, and I understood. They've waited, and they've got to their senior year, and they don't see any field time. I mean, I can't be mad at a guy.
No, and I'm not. And sometimes, the honesty is those coaches probably don't ever say it, but they might go to a guy and say, hey, you know what? You probably need to transfer. You probably need to go somewhere else and play. You know,
Right.
you can play, but you just can't play here.
Right. And they go somewhere else and flourish. You know, you never know.
Right.
Right.
I know
So
my
I
cousin.
do.
My cousin played at Auburn, and I know she said Chiswick, not Chiswick, but Gus tried to tell my cousin that, but he still didn't. He just stuck it out. Yeah, the coaches do tell you that like it probably not gonna happen here.
Right. You know, and sometimes they say that because it makes them hungry and they get in the gym and get in the weight room and get stronger. And, you know, I'm going to prove you wrong kind of guy. Or are you going to be the guy that believes it and just, you know, stops competing? Every player is different. Everybody, you know, some people go away and then realize, oh, my family can't come see me play. So I want to go back closer to home so they can come and see me play. Some mamas want their kids to go as far away from home they can so they stay off the streets.
Trouble. Yep.
And, you know, Marshall Falk, he's told that story about, you know, his mom, you know, why didn't you go to LSU? His mom said, because it was too close to New Orleans. You need to go to California, go to San Diego State and be as far from New Orleans as you could.
That's awesome. Yeah. So, I remember a couple of years, well, it's been more than a couple of years back. I can't remember the young man's name, but I know he's from Florida. And
Copeland, I know the receiver.
Copeland, and man, his mother had an Alabama hat and a maybe a LSU shirt, and she had all kind of stuff. And he chose Florida, and it broke her heart because she said she knew that if he stayed in Florida, the bad influences was going to suck him back in.
That's right. So I mean, sometimes it's, you know, mamas know best too. You know, I've had some players at LSU. Their mamas, that they know more football than what people give them. I'm telling you, man, those football mamas know the game, and they know when a coach is lying, and they know when coaches which ones they can trust and which one they can't. And it's
matter of fact, the cousin that played at Auburn, I did a show with my auntie before because she knows a lot. We talked about what parents go through during recruiting and the stuff they tell you, and she opened up. She said a lot of stuff that if you got a kid getting recruited at this point that you should listen to, because she said it's cutthroat and they promise you stuff and
it's
crazy.
No, it is a it's tough, and so those kids don't know what they don't know. I mean, some of them have never left their town that they're currently in, and they get a chance to go visit these places, and everything looks good. You know, everything. Oh man, those girls were so pretty on campus, and they did this, and they treated me like this. But it's like it's not the same thing when you go there in August.
Right.
When you were recruited, it's not. Every game is not a Saturday football game when you were the one there.
Right. Exactly.
And you know, Twitter and everybody, and they sometimes they read too much into that, and you know that's the thing we have is that social media, and they start believing stuff and thinking that everybody's telling them to go here, and they're not following their heart. They're not doing their homework.
And like you said about Twitter, I'm on Twitter a lot, and it's crazy. Like the access that we have to some of these recruits, we can actually talk to some of these guys. They get in some of the spaces and some kids might be listening to people like us that I never played Division I football. I'm just going for the team. I want you to commit to this. Like, it's crazy. All the different influences out there that they listen to is crazy, man.
Right. That's why I said I think that's why the NIL is good now, because now a kid, you know, he doesn't have to go do it the wrong way and let a booster pay him something. You know, everybody's got potential to make some money. Obviously, at the bigger schools, you're going to get a chance to make more, but you still got a chance to do something and be happy.
Yeah.
You know what? Must be honest with you. I never really looked at it that way until you just said what you said, and that makes a hell of a lot of sense, to be honest with you, because you might not be at a big Alabama, LSU, or Ohio State. You might be at a smaller, you know, UCF or a Cincinnati or so, you know, wherever. But some money is better than no money. And if you get some money and you're content and you can stay there and focus on your grades and still work your way toward the NFL, I agree with that. I like that. I never looked at it that way, but that makes a lot of sense.
And then at the end of the day, that's going to make that school a little bit more competitive because they all aren't trying to get to Alabama, LSU, Texas, USC.
Yeah.
You know, they can go to Cincinnati, stay home. They can go to, one of those other schools, UCF, or, it does make.
Okay.
And that's what I try to tell kids that they go through the process. Like, look, whether you go to the small Tuskegee or the big Alabama, either way, you're going to get there and have to compete regardless. So go to somewhere where you think that makes sense. But either way, you're going to have to compete. You're going to have to compete.
Right. And like I said, go back and look at the first 3 rounds of the draft this year. They weren't all from all of them weren't from the big schools.
No.
Right.
Some are from North Dakota State. Some are from, they're going to be starters right away.
Like I said, the Houston Texans and couple about 2 or 3 drafts ago, they drafted somebody Alabama from offensive lineman from Alabama State in the first round.
Yeah, right.
In the first round.
No. So I mean, I think there is good into that NIL and the transfer portal. I think there is good. It's just unfortunately sometimes they only talk about the individual that does it multiple times. They don't talk about the guys did it once and he didn't. Yeah, he's not in the NFL, but he got a college degree and he's successful in a job somewhere else. In the corporate world, those are boring stories. They don't put that out there on that stuff.
Yeah,
so,
Okay. Well, I don't have anything else, Nick. I'm not sure if you have anything else, but
no. I thought we did a good show tonight, man. Thanks for coming on with us.
Very informative, man. I enjoy listening to you talk and and your point of view on everything. I'm leaving with some different points of view than I had when I came in. So this was a great show. I'm glad you were able to make it, and it's been a good night, man.
No, I've enjoyed it. Hopefully we have to get together again as the season starts to get closer, and then kind of see how everything pans out towards the end.
Okay.
I'm gonna tell you right now. Around the SEC media days, I want to try to do something like that, but fan base. So I will be getting back in contact with you around time.
That sounds good. Looking forward to it.
Any social media that people can reach you at, if you anything?
Oh man, I got them, but I don't even really post stuff on there. I kind of go and catch up on things, within the football world. So,
gotcha. Okay, I understand. All right.
So, but I appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks.
You guys take care. All right,
you too.
All right, bye-bye.
Yes, sir.
What's up, man?
That was a good
show. Good show, man. I enjoy him. Like you said,
yes, sir.
The newest stuff, and when he didn't bash anybody.
Nah, and I knew he was gonna be. He was gonna be real knowledgeable, like I said, and not just we're gonna beat everybody and all this. You know what I'm saying? He was gonna have logic to everything he said.
Right. I even saw somebody in the chat. I can't remember who it was. Say, I like this guy better than I do Tony B and somebody else. I want to say it was Cindy. I might be wrong, but I think it was Cindy Reed who said
hey, man, I know what Spencer be going through that, man. He be coming over here, man. That's why I be so quiet, but I be like, God, he come, man. I appreciate y'all in the chat, though, man. Thank y'all for tuning in with us, man. Appreciate
everybody, yeah. Our crew, we got our crew. We're in Brian, Cindy Reed, of course, Stephen Hicks, 6-0, Icebox, motivated, dedicated, Mr. Georgia man. We're glad you're here too, sir.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah, it's been a good night, and I think we're gonna go ahead and call this one done.
Yes, sir.
Like he said, we appreciate everybody, and don't forget Nick Saban Jr. Sports Talk TV. Nick Saban, what's his channel? Nick
Saban Jr. Sports Talk TV. Y'all come check me out if y'all Please do, man. Please do.
Cause he's trying to get to 500, right?
500. I'm at where I'm at. I'm at 440.
Okay. You got 60 more to go, people. Come on. Tell a friend, tell a friend, tell a friend, tell a friend, tell a friend.
4 months.
Help us out. Come on, y'all.
4 months right here. 440 in 4 months.
4 months. So
Yeah,
come
help
on,
me
help
out.
us out. Yeah, like I said, CTS Sports Room. Monday nights we have Mac and Dale. Tuesday night we have the Horseman Show. Wednesday the open, right? Wednesday open on CTS. No show.
Yeah, no show on Wednesday.
And then Thursday, of course, me and Nick and our good friend Kangaroo Black. Don't forget to check out Kangaroo Black. I saw him in the chat earlier.
He has Wednesdays. He does Wednesdays on his show.
Wednesday is the Kangaroo Black show. So yeah, check out Kangaroo Black, Rags and Fitness, and everybody else out there, man.
As a matter of fact, my man right here, Coach Dude Sports TV. I just checked him out the other day. He has a YouTube channel. So if y'all interested, go check him out, man.
What's his name?
It's up there now. I got it on the screen right now.
Okay. I'm gonna go check him out and subscribe.
Yeah.
Coach Dude, you about to get a new subscriber here, buddy.
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right, y'all. And everybody, we want to wish y'all guys a good night. And as always, roll tide.